the people are left without any medical facility. The amount of damage into the hospital facility is bigger than what the Hamas and health ministry were expecting during the night after they sent teams to check other departments. This is about 6 departments of the hospital are severely damaged, and the emergency department and intensive care unit was completely destroyed.
Why did Israel strike this hospital?
With the statement from the Israeli army has just been issued, and they accused Hamas of using the hospital compound to plan and execute terror activity, as the statement said. We haven't heard yet from Hamas a response about the latest Israeli statement, but earlier Hamas issued a statement calling what happened as a war crime, a horrific crime done by Israel for destroying the last hospital that is functioning in Gaza. The Hamas run media office issued detailed statement saying that about 25 hospitals were completely destroyed, and the last one was this morning saying that Gaza City now is left without any medical facility.
Really, Abu Aloof then on to us from the Cairo. After recent financial chaos, the Trump administration has announced another U-turn on tariffs, allowing exemptions on some electronic goods. More than 75% of phones, video game consoles and other electronics imported to the US last year were made in China, subject to huge tariffs, of course. The US Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick said recently the army of millions and millions of human beings screwing in little screws to make iPhones, that kind of thing, is going to come to America. But the US tech companies expressed concern that the price of mobile phones and computers could rocket. So is that why they're now being exempt? The question from North American technology correspondent Lily Jamali.
These exemptions are going to affect companies like Nvidia and Dell, but the big one that we've been watching is Apple, which will also be affected, but it's had a very volatile weekend. So I think this news is welcomed by tech analysts, but also executives and consumers. Trump has been pretty reactive this last couple of days. He's seen what has happened in the bond market and responded accordingly by changing policy. And there's been a variety of different messages coming from this administration and from the White House in recent days. We have different policies being announced from one day to the next. We have exemptions like the one that we're talking about now, and then also there's a whole host of officials in the White House that sometimes offer differing assessments of what the policy actually is. So I think it's been confusing, to say the least. On Saturday, what we heard from the White House was the reasoning behind this latest exemption. They say that this is in order to give more time to these companies to reshore or to onshore, in some cases for the first time, products that American consumers buy that have long been made in China and elsewhere. The issue is the manufacturing base in the United States isn't really configured to make a smartphone, an iPhone in particular. Onshoring a product like that can take years, and it can take hundreds of billions of dollars in investments as well. Apple, in the case of the iPhone, which I think has really been the proxy for this discussion, this ongoing debate, has been moving production not from China to the U.S., but to India. So the iPhone in particular, according to Counterpoint Research, is made about 80% in China, 20% or so in India. So they already have that manufacturing hub ready to go in India. And so for consumers, what that means, it means it's business as usual. But if we end up in a position where these tariffs are put back on, an Apple iPhone consumer might saving humanity. Our atmosphere. You mentioned that this trip, I think it's going to be about 11. The actress Olivia Munn saying this is a lot of money to spend. Is it worth it? Well, I mean, it's their money, and they've earned that money, and they can do with it what they will. It's not much different than somebody paying $50 to go to a theme park and ride roller coasters, except it's a much greater scale. I think that had I not made it to NASA as an astronaut and been selected and had the opportunity, I'd be wanting to save my money up to make a trip into space any way I could get.
Reality now, .com.au or call 131306. Terms and conditions, fees, charges and eligibility criteria apply.
If you're frustrated by the lack of quality homes on the market, it's time to speak to an Ian Reid buyer advocate. Call 9430 0000 or visit ianreid.com.au.
Ian Reid Buyer Advocate.
Whelmed in stress, struggling to focus? Caruso's new L-theanine 400 provides fast relief in just 3 hours. Caruso's new L-theanine 400 helps relieve symptoms of stress, supports mental clarity, and calms the mind without the drowsy. It's time to take back control with Caruso's new L-theanine 400. Caruso's new L-theanine 400 is available now at leading pharmacies and health stores. Always read the label.
No worries, mate. No worries. So I think before this car, yeah?
What's that?
Here,
it's on the other side of the road, but this, that's fine. I'll jump across it.
Yeah, no worries, mate. Take care. Have a good night. Thank you, no worries.
Well above their weight, and wouldn't you know it, we've got some brand new research and a new story that proves just that. Once again, they're coming up before the end of the show.
It'll be fascinating.
Stick around for that, but right now...
And now on Healthy Living, it's time to uncover the body of evidence.
Here we are again, Doc. Yep. This time, what has prompted us to talk about this once again?
Oh, there's an article came out recently asking the question, is wine as safe as we've been led to believe? Because for many years, many doctors, and I must admit, resveratrol and polyphenols and a few others, but I'll get onto that in a second. Yep. But let me make the point here, that once you get over a standard dose of 1 to 2 drinks per day, the liver can have an issue. So anyone who suggests, I can have 3 or 4 a day and that's okay for me, no, it's not. And binge drinking is not okay. So,
how is binge drinking defined medically?
During what they don't realise is they're knocking off their liver and brain function for about 5 days. So if they're going to uni on a Saturday night, they're only starting to really think properly by about Thursday. So people have to look at the fact that if you don't drink, don't ever take up drinking because you think it has health benefits. That's just nonsense.
Yeah.
So let me look at the evidence that suggested there may be some benefits from red wine, and I'll tell you why I think that is the case.
Okay.
But I'm saying it's only benefits when you look at the very low dose of 1 to 2 standard drinks a day. A study done called the Copenhagen Heart Study. 13,000 Danes followed for 12 years, and it found that those who had more than 2 drinks a day ended up with health issues, okay? Sure. That as it is.
Okay.
But a couple of standard beers a day, so that's 2 middies of beers, not 2 schooners. 2 middies of beer had no health detriments compared with the teetotalers. But then when they looked at the spirit drinkers, a nip is 30 mils, not 50 to 60. 50%.
drinkers, 250 mils of red wine per day, 50% reduction in heart disease and cancer. Okay?
Okay.
Another study by a guy called Serge Renaud. Guess where that study came from?
Yeah, that can go.
Yeah.
Take a step back.
36,000 Frenchmen studied for 12 years. And again, it showed that 2 standard glasses of red wine per day reduced the risk for heart disease and cancer about 50%. There's another study called the Male Physicians Trial, and it showed that the male doctors who had 1 glass of red wine a day reduced their risk for sudden cardiac death by about 80%. But when you look at the global evidence on alcohol, it doesn't do a damn thing. And you see, this is the point of all of this. I think it's who the alcohol is hanging around with. I don't think there is any health benefit from drinking beer. I don't think there is any health benefit from drinking spirits. But I suspect that if you combine 1 or 2 glasses of red wine per day with the Mediterranean-style diet, so what they have in Europe, not what they eat in America. So all the data in America, apart from Boston, where the male physicians trials are, so male physicians trial, so it's a more affluent area where they tend to eat better than, say, in Iowa, where the studies, the alcohol studies, all throughout the rest of America showed absolutely no benefit and probably some detriment.
Yeah.
So I think the bottom line with all of this is that no one should ever suggest promoting. There potentially may be some benefit from having a glass or 2 of wine if you're eating it with good quality food all the time.
Yeah, and I would assume that that's coming from the grape, the plant in the wine, not necessarily the alcohol.
There's nothing in the alcohol.
Yeah,
it's really healthy. It is coming from the polyphenols, the plant chemicals, and the resveratrol. Even though the studies on showing the resveratrol showing it has a health benefit, you've got to take about 500 milligrams a day. 1 glass of red wine has 8 milligrams of resveratrol, so you're not getting much resveratrol in a glass of red wine. But what I am saying is, if you are having that Mediterranean style of food with the people you love, having a glass or 2 of wine, it's probably not hurting you, and you may get a health benefit.
Yeah.
But if you're drinking because you're depressed,
Yeah, that's well.
or you're